And so I'm humbled to be here, and I thank Miranda for inviting me. It means a lot to be able to come out and share some time with you all and talk about a wonderful subject, which I thought she had the most appropriate title for today's workshop, and that's lifetime promotion.
Yeah.
And so with that in mind, I had time to reflect, and typically I'm not one to prepare words on paper. I like to speak from the heart, but that doesn't mean I haven't thought about it and put much thought into what to share with you all today. So currently, give you a little idea of who I am, a little synopsis of my background. Currently, I work for Illinois State Senator Kwame Raoul. I was former Chief of Staff for State Representative Kimberly Dubaclay, which are the 13th and 26th districts, which stretches down to this end as we speak, Senator Raoul's district. Prior to that, I spent a year as a math lecturer at Chicago State University, which is also my alma mater. I got my bachelor's degree in computer science there. I'm currently at DePaul in a graduate program, working on a master's of public administration so that I can move more into the public sector and be a little more effective. And as well, we have two of our board members here, Jocelyn and Chris. And so Jocelyn has been tremendous in helping be a catalyst for Lost Boys. So now let me fast forward a little bit and bring you to who Lost Boys is. So in 2006, I started, well, probably right when my son was born in 2005. He was about almost a year old. My then fiance, his mom, found a flyer for a Little League, South Shore Little League. We're from the South Shore community, and that's the community I returned to that I grew up in. And so I was very interested at the time because I spent many years in that league back at Rainbow Beach. It was flourishing back in the 70s and the 80s when I grew up in the early 90s. And so this gentleman had brought it back after 20 years. And so I went out and I said, okay, I'm going to help out. Came on board. I was given a team, the Yankees. And so I had to draft all these young people for the team. And pretty much the way it goes, I was stuck with a bunch of kids who typically couldn't play the game. But from that point, I went out, found a few more kids I knew could play, and amazingly, first year ever, we won the league championship. So it was amazing to me. I was hooked right then. So that was my crack. I was hooked, right? So the next year, I coached another season. It was great. Team did okay. Kids kind of started aging out. I started getting some new kids. By the third year that I would have went into coaching for South Shore, for some reason, the gentleman folded the league. And I said, well, okay, guys, this is going to end. I'm going to help you find somewhere to play. We can send you over to Jackie Robinson West, or we can send you over to Southside Little League, or one of these leagues. And so I'm out there with about 13 young men, 12 and under. And then I'm in the middle of telling them what's happening. And we're at South Shore High School in the park, which is approximately between 75th and Jeffrey to Constance. And two men began to come across the field chasing another man with guns out. And I'm old school. I'm from the 90s, Menace to Society, Boys in the Hood era, so I hit the dirt.
Right.
And the kids were still standing around kind of taking bets as to if this guy was going to get hit or not.
Wow.
And so it really blew my mind. I knew that my generation, Generation X, we were responsible for glamorizing the gangster style of life and gangster rap. And did I have something to do with that? I had a lot to do with that. At one point, I had so much to do with it. During my years of college, I ended up being convicted of an assault in the state of Missouri in a small town for an attempted drive-by shooting. Because I had taken Chicago mentality with me to college. Towel coats, braids, took it all with me. Right? And it's a long backstory to the situation. I was kind of unfairly done. Didn't hurt anybody, but I ended up getting 10 years from that.
Oh, wow.
I ended up doing 4 of those 10 years. And it was my first offense. And I was not the typical story of, oh, he came just from, single-parent home, mom couldn't. No, I had a dad. My dad. I had a stepdad at home. My biological father was killed when I was 3. But I had a man that stepped in and was tremendous in raising me. And he was an intellectual giant. So this was a man that came home, we sat down, we talked about history, we talked about geography. He's the reason I know where Iraq is. I understand where Syria is. I understand these concepts of what's happening globally. But for some reason, the pull of Chicago and the allure of the streets and that fast life, just like every other young black male, or most young black males, still pulled me in. So, fast forward a little bit. Came home, life was rough, trying to adjust, trying to get settled. Finally finished my bachelor's degree, and guess what? That roadblock popped up everywhere I went. Check that box, check that box, check that box. Now, keep in mind, this is all occurring while I'm doing the baseball stuff. So, back to the story. I hit the ground. Guys are taking bets. So at that point, I knew that I couldn't stop. Our mom, I have brothers and sisters. Our mother raised us with very, very deep Christian roots and foundations, our faith. So at that point, which is the thing that has always sustained me over life, in the good and the bad, was always having constant conversation with God and knowing that He was present and involved in everything. So at that point, I said, Lord, what do you want me to do? Because I can't walk away from these kids with a good conscience, knowing what's going on around them and how desensitized they are to it. And I said, Lord, unfortunately, a lot of these kids get lost mentally, physically, they're lost spiritually. I said, it's just a bunch of lost boys. And that's when it hit me. Well, that's when He hit me. And He said, they're your lost boys. You're going to do for them what society didn't do for you. When Dad was at work and Mom was at work as a CPS school teacher, there was rarely people in the community. It was kind of coming to an end, that village mentality, where people would step in. I had one Muslim man step in a situation for me. Other than that, the men usually encouraged us younger guys, and they used us to do that. Hold this pack, shorty. Sell that pack, shorty. So from there, my lost boys were born. And I became, as Paul said, he was the chief sinner, I was the chief lost boy. So from there we flourished. We started with baseball. As I began to look at how to put this together, I said, there's something greater I can do with this. It can be more than about baseball, because they can't even focus. It's hard to teach them how to turn the double play, and their mind is on something else. So from there we looked at it, and we developed a mission as we were developing the non-for-profit, and we developed a mission to utilize baseball as a platform to keep kids away from violence. And so our motto was to use, it's really simple, we say, we recreate, educate, and cultivate young men. And it started out as young men. And so that three-pronged motto is what we've been using from that point to develop our kids. The recreation, or the organized baseball, gives them discipline, teaches them how to have teamwork, how to adhere to authority. Because if you can't listen to me, you can't play. You're going to sit on that bench and watch. Education, we try to enhance what they're receiving academically and try to enrich that with tutoring. We're looking at bringing on accelerated programs when we can, so bringing them into STEM curriculums and things like that we can bring them into. And then there's also always the informal academic component. So we work with them in terms of cultivating them, bringing them culture, taking them out to events, taking them out to Civil War reenactments, all of these type of things, and utilizing what we call service learning, which connects what they learn in school to the real world. And so fast forward a little bit more, we have been fortunate and blessed to get over what they call the 5-year hump. So normally what they say about a business or a nonprofit organization is within the first 5 years is when you most likely will fail. If you can make it past that 5, you'll probably survive and thrive. And so we're very fortunate, we're very blessed that that's where we are now. We started with 8 kids, we fluctuated over time, but currently we're roughly at about serving 70 kids. And as Miranda mentioned, we've brought in girls. So we extended it to girls softball. And so our young ladies had an opportunity to go play in the Illinois Championship down in Kankakee this summer. And they were the only all African-American girls team. We weren't that good, but we represented the city well. Right? But it was a fantastic experience, because when we got down there, it wasn't about race. It wasn't about socioeconomic status. It was a bunch of girls, a bunch of women and men having fun. Every game they lost, they gained more fans. They came over, more teams. The teams that beat us came over and cheered for those girls. So it was a wonderful experience. So we're trying to take this summer, which was our best summer yet, and use this as a catalyst to just move forward and to continue to serve our kids and develop them. And as a result of this, we've sent a lot of kids to college, on to great high schools, great colleges. Olive Harvey, Chicago State. We kind of have kids spreading out everywhere. Currently, we just sent 3 of our best boys over to Leo, so they're now in that program. We're looking to connect our girls to some fantastic schools. And again, connect them to colleges. So education is the undergirding of everything that we do. And that's why I thought today was so wonderful, because just thinking, and I'll try to kind of sum it up so I can give the floor back to Miranda. The biggest inspiration for me to do all of that, to worry about someone else's children, was that child right there. So that was my blessing. That was my turning point in life in 2005, was when I could really understand parenting, really understand it from a spiritual perspective, and understand what kind of father the Almighty Father is, and what that relationship was like with his own son by having my own. And so my horizons were broadened. And so I really understood a little bit better. And so for me, all of the good stuff that I said, the titles, all of that sounds good, the degrees all sound good. But guess what? You know what my biggest accomplishment is? The thing that I'm most proud about is being his father and being his sister's father. That was the biggest promotion that I got in my life. Not going to be chief of staff, not going to work for one of the most powerful senators in the state of Illinois, not starting an organization and being the executive director. That doesn't matter. Having 3 kids that come home every day and call me dad, that's the biggest promotion. And as Miranda has said, and we'll learn in this workshop, parenting with the end in mind. That's always our goal. At home and with the children that we work with, we always have an end goal in mind with these kids. And so I'm just glad to be here, and I thank Miranda for giving me an opportunity to share with you all. And I hope you will take the time to look at our organization and see what we're doing. We're still growing, and come out when we have some events or something going on. You're more than welcome. Thank you.
Awesome.